Welcome back to Punk Rock Theologian. We're continuing through the book and we come to the story of Jonah, the man who's famously swallowed by a whale. For some reason, all we see in that is Pinocchio or maybe Finding Nemo. So we kind of lump it into the same sort of category as those stories and don't take it very seriously. But I think we really should because there's a lot we can learn from Jonah. God sends Jonah to Nineveh, which is the capital of Assyria. The Assyrians were bad people, okay? He goes in the opposite direction, like 10 times farther than he should have been going. He clearly doesn't understand God very well if he thinks he can outrun God. He's trying to just get to the farthest point he can possibly reach, and he's planning to, I don't know, hide from God. Naturally, that doesn't work out very well. God sends a massive storm after him, and when they come to Jonah and say, hey, why aren't you freaking out and praying to your God? We tried praying to all of ours, you got one we haven't tried yet? Jonah, seemingly quite calm, tells them, oh yeah, this is my fault. You see, I serve the real God, and I'm trying to run away from him, and I don't think he's happy about it, and he's trying to kill me. That's what's going on here. Which, once again, shows he doesn't understand God, because you really think that God's trying to kill you, and oh, by the way, you think he's having a hard time doing it? He tells the sailors they need to throw him overboard to make God happy or something. The sailors do their best to avoid that, but realize they can't overcome this storm, and so they pray like, God, don't hold us accountable for this, and they toss Jonah. And here we get the sticking point of the whole story. Jonah 1:17 says, now the Lord had arranged for a great fish to swallow Jonah, and Jonah was inside the fish for 3 days and 3 nights. So much pointless debate comes over this one sentence of people going, oh, how could a whale do it? Oh, a person couldn't survive inside of a whale. And I love how Chuck Smith used to say, it's like, would it make you feel better if it said that God caused a submarine to surface and take Jonah on board for 3 days? The whole point of this is that God did a miracle. That's why it's called a miracle. It's not normal. And for crying out loud, let's stop focusing so much on the fish, or most people call it a whale. It's a footnote in the story. It is mentioned in a grand total of 3 verses in the whole thing. I just gave you one of them where it swallows Jonah. The next time is that Jonah prays from inside the fish and then the fish spits him out. That's it. That's the whole story of the fish. It serves a couple simple purposes. 1, it's a really miserable experience. Jonah does not have fun here. 2, it's transportation. Jonah was going to drown out there in the sea, but the fish scooped him up, carries him back to land, and spits him out there. That's the whole story of the fish. Calm down about the fish. It's not the point. Jonah is the point. So let's follow Jonah. Because the next part makes me really wonder why God sent Jonah at all. Jonah 3:4 says, on the day Jonah entered the city, he shouted to the crowds, 40 days from now, Nineveh will be destroyed. That's it. That's his whole message. He doesn't tell them why. He doesn't give them anything. He just says, y'all gonna die, peace out. But the Bible tells us the people of Nineveh believed Jonah. They took this seriously. Like the king declared, everyone is fasting for 3 days, including the animals. He says in verse 8, everyone must pray earnestly to God. They must turn from their evil ways and stop all their violence. Notice that. This is a real deal. The change has already taken place in their hearts, and they are now seeking to follow God's way. That is what we call repentance. And so God counts that, and he relents and says, I will not destroy the city anymore. But as soon as you get to chapter 4, you read, this change of plans greatly upset Jonah, and he became very angry, so he complained to the Lord about it. Didn't I say before I left home that you would do this, Lord? And so it looks like the whole reason Jonah ran in the first place was he was afraid that God might actually have mercy. He didn't want that to happen. The Assyrians' track record, I could understand how Jonah could feel that way, and I also think it's fair that Jonah didn't want to become a false prophet by declaring something would happen and then it doesn't, because that does carry a death penalty in Israel. But I think this is exactly why Jonah had to be here. Jonah had to learn who God really is and come to understand him, to know that he's not going to kill Jonah, he's going to bring him back to land safely, that he doesn't want to destroy Nineveh, he wants to bring them back too. And the beautiful part of it is that the only reason we have this story to read is because Jonah wrote it down, which tells us that eventually he got that. He understood it. The problem is, I'm not sure we have gotten it yet thousands of years later, because what happened in this story is the people of Nineveh changed their minds. That's what repentance means. Jonah 3:5 said that they believed God. That is the exact same criteria for Abraham. That's how he became righteous. He believed God and God counted that as righteousness. That's what God still wants of us today, is to simply believe. We are saved through faith by believing him, taking him at his word. Jonah didn't think that Nineveh really deserved it, or maybe he didn't believe that they had really changed. God, who can see the heart, who can see a lot more than we can see, knew that this change was real. And that needs to happen today too. There are people people who have a really dark past, like the Assyrians. And it doesn't matter how long that's been going on. The moment you change your mind, it doesn't have to immediately stop all behavior, but turn and make that change to point towards God and say, I am going to do my best. I'm going to try to live this way. That change matters to God. When you simply believe Him, believe what He said, that's what matters, and that's what He calls a change. That's what He calls righteousness. Jonah didn't think it counted for Nineveh. Too many Christians don't think it counts for the rough crowd around them when they start to make a change, and we expect people to get all polished up and then we'll accept you. That's not okay. We are all Nineveh. We can't act like Jonah. We can't claim God's grace for ourselves and act like it doesn't apply to the next guy. That's the lesson we all need to take from Jonah.